Imagine you walk into a dealership and you see this model over here besides the SUV version. The first thing you're going to ask is, what's the difference? Well, the first difference you can tell right away because it is a visual difference. The design. One, it's an SUV, the other one is coupe. But what exactly separates these two? And which one is the right one to buy? There are only two reasons why you would buy the coupe versus the SUV. But today I'm going to show you why you should buy the SUV instead of the coupe. First, let me tell you exactly the reasons why the SUV is better. And then I'm going to tell you two reasons why the coupe could be your pick. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe and like. And of course, if you want to watch the comparison between the GLB and the GLC SUV, the link will be in the description box. I've already reviewed the GLC, the 2020 model. Today, we're going to find out the GLC Coupe, how it compares against the SUV. The first reason is the price. If you're watching this video from Canada or United States, you're still going to pay more for the GLC Coupe versus the GLC SUV. And that, of course, applies even to the base model. In order to get this design, you have to sacrifice space. In order to get this kind of shape around here, you have to change things. And what it has done to the trunk is shrink. So you technically get more space in the SUV than you would get, of course, in the coupe because of that change in design on the rear side. So for example, this part over here had to be more bulky, therefore you're getting less space on this area. At the same time, even in this side over here to make it flat, you're also sacrificing more glass, which I'll get to the visibility part as well. But overall, you will be getting more cargo space in the GLC SUV compared to the coupe. The SUV also weighs less than this. It also offers more legroom and headroom in the front. You also get more headroom in the back in the SUV and more leg room compared to this. See, they had to change things. They had to shrink things in this vehicle to get it to a coupe model. Therefore, as you can see, the pillar on this side all the way through and the roof, it's curved, which does not give you a lot of space because of that design. So you're sacrificing space for the design. You might think that they will give you more horsepower or a different engine. Well, don't count on it because it is exactly the same engine. It makes the same horsepower, same transmission, same drivetrain, same amount of cylinders, same liter, 2-liter engine, 2-liter engine. The only difference is that the SUV is faster by 0.1 seconds compared to the coupe. And when it comes to the actual fuel economy, they're almost the same. It depends for city or highway, but overall, they're both the same. You did expect some more. The other thing is that the SUV does give you a hybrid version, something that you don't get with the coupe. So if you are into hybrid models, the only ones that will give you hybrids will be the SUV, not the coupe. Another problem with the coupe, well, visibility. Look at this carefully. This is the rear windshield, and look at how much space it gives you, how much visibility. I mean, my laptop has a bigger screen than this. Also, the side profile. Look at the pillar onto that side and look at the pillar on this side as well. You have literally no view. Now, in fairness, you do have a 360 camera, so you don't have to worry much. But if you wanted to use, or you didn't have the option for 360 camera, visibility is not as good as the SUV. Even the interior is exactly the same in here as it is in the SUV. You have a trackpad in the center, you have a touchscreen infotainment system. This is the 2020 infotainment system. You have the same cluster, and then the same thing for the steering wheel. You have the touch control in here that you can control the infotainment system, and the same thing here for the cluster. In terms of the infotainment system screen, exactly the same size. Everything in this area, it's exactly the same. The seats, the buttons located onto the door panel, the audio system, everything is exactly the same as you'd find in the SUV. There's literally no difference between this and that. You still get a wireless charging pad located into this area. You have the center units in here that you have the dynamic option to change your driving modes, and then the same thing here in this area. So it's very similar to the GLC SUV in terms of design. There's nothing extra in here compared to that. So why are you paying more for this instead of the SUV? Well, first is the style. As you can see, this has a different design compared to the SUV, which is more standard. This is more luxurious, more funky, and some sort of sport details around it. Other than that, between this area here all the way to the front, they're almost identical. Even the front grille and the headlights. The difference is behind the second door, where things change and become different. So that is the first reason. The second reason, it has to do with the value. And this, of course, is dependable on each country. So if you live in the States or Canada. What I did find out is that apparently the previous Coupe model held the value far better than the GLC SUV. Now that, of course, depends on the model, but generally dealerships have concluded that the GLC Coupe has sort of kept the value better. So some people are enticed into buying this vehicle. People that usually buy the Coupe are mostly single or just coupled with no kids. If you're a family person, you have 2 kids or 1 child, I truly believe that the SUV could be a better choice. You get more cargo volume, you'll pay less for it, and if you want to spice it up, you can still get a GLC 63 AMG for the SUV as you'd get for the Coupe. Now, the next question I have is, how do they drive? How do they compare? I've driven the GLC SUV. Now it's time to find out how this thing compares to that. Although engine, transmission, everything else is pretty much the same. But let's find out about the comfort level and everything else. Okay, so we're going for a drive with the GLC Coupe. I have to wear sunglasses because it is extremely hot today. I mean, really, really hot. So let's talk about these 2 cars. How do they compare in power delivery? Well, it's been almost a full day today with this car, and what I can say is it's not different. You can't tell the difference. Like, they're not making a lot of horsepower where you could tell the difference. It's not like the GLC 63 AMG versus the S version. It's just literally the same engine. You can't tell, even though slightly the SUV is supposed to be faster. The difference in power, it's literally minimal. You could never tell which one is faster. But I will say this feels slightly more comfortable. You don't feel the road as much. Right now I'm not driving on a highway. I'm gonna be driving some back roads where there's a bit of a crack, and just like, I can't tell the difference in power, but I can tell the difference in quality of the ride. This feels slightly softer on the road and more agile. There's a bit of a problem with this car. The wheels, they're AMG package, and they tend to kind of like slide. If you've driven this car with this kind of wheels, you will understand what I mean. When you go over potholes, it slides a bit here and there. I think it's sort of like low profile, and in some areas you can feel the cracks on the road a little bit more because of those wheels. So right now we're going to right corner here, and it just slides a little bit more. That's one thing I noticed with that. But the comfort level is not a massive difference. You just feel that this car is softer when it comes to the suspension system, although they're technically the same. Probably has to do with the overall design on the rear side. When it comes to the design itself, when you look at them, yes, the Coupe is slightly better looking. You can't deny that. Some people will not like that, some people like that. I like this over the GLE. I find the GLE to be extremely ugly. I can't even drive that thing around. I like this more than the GLE. The GLE, it's out of proportions. The wheels are bigger, the car is smaller, the wheels are smaller, the car is bigger. There's no connection between the wheels and the actual car. It looks like a chicken. Skinny legs and, of course, big body. This is how I think the GLE looks. This, on the other hand, I would pick this any day over the GLE. The problem with all these coupe cars is that manufacturers like BMW and Mercedes have taken advantage of it because of that design. If you look at the BMW X6 versus the BMW X5, the difference in trunk space is massive too. So you get more space in the X5 than you get in the X6. So you're paying more for the design. I was supposed to do a review on the X6 and I couldn't do it because of this coronavirus going on. And it's the same idea. So you're sacrificing space for that rear design. I think for my situation, I'm married, we don't have any kids, I think this car will do just fine. What I like about the GLC in general, and I've said this, the same thing with the GLC 63 AMG, is that it feels more like a sedan rather than an SUV. It doesn't feel very high off the ground. It's the same thing with the SUV, the standards, the coupe, the SUV, same idea here, same principle. You don't feel it as an SUV. When you drive, let's say, an X5 or any other type of SUVs, you don't feel that this car is one of those. And that's what I like about the GLC in general. It feels proper. You don't feel very high off the ground. In terms of the space in here, there is a slight difference with the actual SUV model. So those are some of the things that you need to keep in mind. If you're going to look for design, then definitely the GLC Coupe would be the choice. I personally like it over the standard SUV. I do love the GLC 63 SUV. I like it quite a lot. The design, the lines, the exhaust tips, everything just complement the entire car. I absolutely like it. Compare now the coupe I do as well. I've reviewed the coupe tuned and a standard one. Absolutely like it as well. But I mean, for money, the value, you would go for the SUV rather than the coupe. So that's something to keep in mind when you compare these two head to head. The best way to do that is book an appointment with the Mercedes dealership and take them for a test drive back to back. Maybe you'll notice some sort of difference. One thing that annoys me with this car is actually the visibility on the rear side. Now this does have a 360 camera, so if you're going to park somewhere really tight, you're not gonna feel much of a difference because you can just use the camera. But if you don't have the 360 camera, you have to always turn your head and you can tell the difference in visibility. The windows on the passenger side, on the rear side, is slightly smaller. It gets smaller as the actual chassis at the top, the roof, gets a little bit lower as well because of the shape, of course. In the GLC, you have more like a square type glass on the passenger side. At the same time, the little tiny window on the side is barely visible. You also have trouble with the actual rear windshield. If you have people sitting in the back, you could barely see anything. You could probably see the lights at night if a police officer is pulling you over, but you barely see anything. Right now, I can't even see the license plate of the guy behind me. I can see the car a little bit, but I can barely see the license plate. I think that's where things get a bit complicated when it comes to visibility. Is it a terrible car you shouldn't buy? Absolutely not. It's a matter of choice and value. I think you'll get more, if you're a family person, more value out of the SUV compared to the GLC. Even the owner that owns this vehicle said the same thing to me. He's like, I don't actually need the big boot. It is stressful sometimes, but if you don't have any kids, you just put the second row seat down, and this beauty has a button that automatically folds the second row seat, and you got yourself more space. So if you don't have if you don't have kids or a big family, this will do the work just fine. I like the design of this. I can't deny that. And I like how it drives in some cases. But in a different situation, I'll definitely pick the SUV. And I think money-wise, value-wise, I think the SUV does the job better and it's worth more compared to this. With that in mind, thanks for watching. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like, and let me know what do you think about this video. Let me know if you have any specific questions that I haven't answered in this video. I'll be more than happy to help you if you're looking to compare this to head. The GLC is a very popular SUV, even the AMG version or just the standard, the C300 that we have, the 300C that we have for today's video. So I'm sure a lot of people are looking to compare the SUV versus the coupe. With that in mind, thanks for watching. Cheers and be safe.